Reggie Everett's the Front Row Report. I am joined today by the one and only John Cooper from Skillet. Very excited about this. And how's it going?
It's going great, man. We're having a good time out here.
Awesome. You're out on Winter Jam again. You were out on Winter Jam about 3 years ago. And this year the lineup was fairly similar to the one that was out last time you were on it. Blanca's on it from Group 1 Crew. Building 429's out this year again. And then you got Jeremy Camp on the tour this year, man. How's it going?
Yeah, it's funny. There were a lot of the King Country was on that bill. The biggest difference with this one would be Francesca Battistelli and Jeremy, who I've never toured with either one, which is funny because I've known Jeremy for 12 years. So it's very cool to be touring with some new folks and so many of our, as you mentioned, good friends, friends that we made from the last tour, which was great. This is my favorite lineup that we've ever done at Winter Jam because all 10 acts are really, really good. I mean, there's no fluff from start to finish. I've gone out and watched the show several times, and I've been like, man, this is just like, 3 hours of, it's like a concert for the ADD generation, it's like the poster child concert, because it's so much happening. Great acts, great ministry, and I'm glad to be back on.
And Viridia, one of the best up-and-coming rock bands, is opening Winter Jam this year, which is awesome. The band making a lot of noise this year, in the last year. So I'm excited to see them for the first time. So that's going to be awesome, man. You're no stranger to Winter Jam. Is there anything different this time around as compared to 2012 or previous years you've done Winter Jam?
Sure. Well, there are some differences in like, of course, the format has not changed,
right.
But I was for me, like with Skillet Show, we're doing some things, for people that have seen it, they probably know, we do a lot of production and a lot of gags and, pyrotechnics and all that stuff. We are doing some things on this tour that we've never done before, which was kind of hard to figure out how to do that and what to do. But we want to always kind of keep it fresh, so I think those elements of the show, as well as, I don't know if Skillet's to blame for this. Either we get the credit or the blame, but, I think that probably because of the fact that Skillet and some other bands have really kind of aimed to making our concerts feel like massive secular shows, There's no reason in doing a show that's not on par with, Nickelback or Metallica or whatever else is happening out there. Because of that, I think a lot of bands in Christian music are trying to do that. So this Winter Jam experience is not just 3 hours of great bands. It's like one gag to the next. It's just like the whole night, explosions and confetti and fire, and it's a little bit. It's a little bit too much. You feel like you just watched Die Hard or something,
I know exactly what you mean. I think this is going to be my 15th time seeing you guys. So.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, so it's going to be. I'm definitely looking forward to this. And like you said, Christian music has really evolved since maybe in '95, '96 when Skillet started. It's become it's huge, especially Christian rock. The Christian rock bands out there now. Family Force 5 is one of them. They're on the bill with you guys this year, and just Christian rock has really come a long way in the last 5-10 years, I think.
Sure. Well, there's always been great Christian music, and I think that the avenues of hearing that music are finally expanding. I remember growing up just desperately trying to get my friends to listen to Christian music and just give it a chance. I know if they listen to Guardian, they love it. Do you remember the band Guardian? I loved Guardian.
And Bride.
Oh my gosh, there was some fantastic bands. Funny enough, POD was a Christian band for I don't know how long before they got signed, mainstream, but 8 years or something. I remember hearing that band early '90s. So I think that the avenues of people hearing Christian music have really grown, which is fantastic. The message is getting out, and I think it's giving a lot of credibility to the format. So people aren't, they don't have that kind of, Christian music, They don't have that thing, because you go, hey, have you heard Flyleaf? Have you heard, POD? Have you heard Switchfoot? These are all very successful mainstream acts that were are Christians. So anyway, you get the point. It's pretty exciting what's happening with Christian music, and I think it's most exciting that people are hearing the message of Christ, perhaps for the first time, from that music. So come on.
Do you feel, because one thing I love about Skillet is you're a band that tours heavily in the Christian market, but you also, there's a lot of people that know you from Uproar or the Rock on the Range or Carolina Rebellion, Rocklahoma scene as well. Do you feel like there's more maybe non-believers coming out to a Winter Jam these days than there would be in previous years because they've seen Skillet on a non-Christian tour, or they heard Skillet on non-Christian rock radio?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I would say unequivocally yes. You know, I definitely have noticed in the crowd after the shows, doing my tweets, that lots of people are coming from outside of the Christian music circles, or church circles. And you know, sometimes those things are pretty obvious. Mm-hmm. And I'm noticing in the crowd. And I think, you know, everybody's excited about that, and I think most of the people on the tour attribute that to, yes, you know, we do about 50% of our touring in Christian, 50% on mainstream tours. Trying to get the message out there, trying to get the music out there, and I think that, again, that this tour is credible enough that a lot of those fans are going, hey, I don't care if it's a Christian music tour or not. I want to go see the bands, you know. So that's just fantastic. I'm so excited about the message.
Yeah, it really adds more power to the message too, because if there's, you know, non-believers, non-Christians coming to the show because they love the bands, it really gives you a chance to, you know, reach an audience that you maybe might not, a lot of these bands might not normally have a chance to reach, because, you know, people who would never have known about a Jeremy Camp or Francesca, you know, or a Freaking Country are coming to the show and they're hearing this message that they may not get anywhere else, because some of those fans may never be interested in going into a church. And so it's really cool to see that happening these days.
Absolutely.
But you guys are out, from what I've heard, you're finishing the touring cycle on Rise. I heard you guys might be going into the studio at some point this year. How has it been supporting Rise as compared to maybe Awake or Comatose, you know, or even Collide or Hey You, I Love Your Soul?
Well, let's see. I mean, you know, every time you release an album, it's a different, you know, cycle and a whole different set of things, you know. I think with Rise, the biggest thing that's been different has been we've just done a ton of overseas touring, more than we ever have. And we spent half of our touring year last year in Europe and Russia. So I think we did, I don't know how many, you know, 50 dates outside of America last year. And that has never really happened before. Rise really opened up the door to do a lot of those festivals and a lot of our own touring. Okay. As well as, you know, we opened for Nickelback the year before. We had 30 dates in Europe with Nickelback. So Rise has been a very cool time. Awake was the album that we did the bulk of our headline touring in America. Mm-hmm. And that was just bananas. I mean, it was so busy. I hardly remember it, but we did a lot. But it was busy, I'll tell you that, man.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, it's always great to have a new record out and see what doors are going to open and where to go, which is really cool. And to answer your other question, yes, we are recording this year. In fact, I'm writing and demoing today, and I took a break to come do some interviews. And then after I talk with you, I go back and finish singing one of my songs and turn it in. And we're about halfway done with the writing process now, and we're looking to record this summer and release kind of as soon as possible, really.
Awesome. Are you looking to do maybe another concept record, or is that something that was maybe a one and done with Rise?
You know, I don't think that we will, but even with Rise, I didn't know that we were doing a concept record until we were actually recording. Okay. It just kind of hit me. So, you know, and I never say never, but that is not the plan at the moment.
Okay. And you guys got announced for, you know, a lot of the big summer festivals in the Christian scene. Obviously, you're coming back to Spirit Song, which I'm excited about, because last time you did Spirit Song was 2 days after Rise released, which was an amazing Skillet show. You pretty much flew up Kings Island during that.
Oh, that's nice.
So, how do you? when you go do the summer festival scenes on the Christian festivals, are those shows that really give you a chance to break out some of the songs you don't normally get to play on maybe a Winter Jam or an Uproar, because you're playing maybe 12, 13, 14 songs?
Yeah, I mean, we do so much touring that, every show feels like it's different. Sometimes we're opening, sometimes we're closing, sometimes it's a festival but you're only playing for 50 minutes. It just really depends. When we get to play the most songs is when we do our own headline tours, and we'll play for an hour and a half and play 18 songs, and I love that. Getting to play some older stuff is really fun. But yes, festivals, we do get to dig in a little bit, play some of the, maybe not radio hits, but fan favorites. Songs like Comatose, for instance. Well, that did well for us on radio, but when you're only playing 40 minutes, you have to play, Monster and Awaken Alive and those songs. Yeah. So it is nice to be able to play some of those ones that fans, a lot of fans will have certain songs that are their favorites that weren't necessarily radio hits.
Okay. Well, one thing I'd love to know, I mean, we're coming up next year is going to be 10 years since Comatose released, and we're also coming up eventually on the 20-year anniversary of Skillet. Any thoughts of big plans for either of those anniversary marks?
I hadn't really thought much about it. I think one of the reasons is I think most of our fans have no idea we've been around that long. So
True.
I think maybe if we had big radio hits in '96 and '97, people would be like, "Man, it's 20 years." I think people are like 20 years. Their first record was Comatose, because that was the record that really kind of changed the game for us. So yeah. I've not thought much about it, to tell you the truth.
I think that'd be cool. I'd love to see maybe an old school Skillet tour. You pull out maybe some Locked in a Cage or something.
Oh yeah,
like
man!
That. One of my favorite songs ever.
That's
nice. One thing I wanted to ask you about. Back in about 2 months ago, the CCM United We Stand, you had a chance to introduce Petra with the Dream Team lineup from the Beyond Belief days. How surreal was that? And as far as Petra goes, Greg X Volt's Petra or John Schlitt Petra?
Oh, that's hard.
It's a tough one.
Here's the thing. Yes, it was awesome. I mean, Petra was like my band growing up. I loved Petra. And they had done so much for the Christian music and for the gospel. It's kind of something you can't quite exaggerate. Yeah. So yes, that was very cool. In terms of that, I gotta say, it's going to sound like I'm not answering your question, and I'm not. Is Petra's one of the very few examples, I think, in music, like rock music history anyway, that there has been a band that has successfully changed singers and were equally credible in each decade. Yep. Because Greg H. Volt's Petra was amazing, and that had very much a classic rock, Kansas, Styx, yes, like Foreigner, that era of like classic rock. And Greg Volt's was perfect for that. Yeah. But when you're going into the 80s, we all know who was ruling the 80s, and those bands still did good, but really who ruled the 80s was Def Leppard and Bon Jovi, and John Schlitt is the guy to be singing that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know how they managed to do that, because that's not something that normally happens, but they certainly did. Other than that, probably some of the only examples you really have would be like Van Halen, I would guess.
Yeah. AC/DC did successfully.
Oh, well, yes, of course, yes.
They're a little bit heavier,
and they kind of sound just like each other, which is great. I mean, they did a great job, but the thing that stuck out with Petra to me was that I'm not sure that John Schlitt would be the right guy for the 70s Petra, and I'm not sure that Greg Voltz would be the right guy for the late 80s Petra. So
I don't think that would work.
They really kind of switched their genre a little bit, which, is I mean, that's really hard to do, but they managed it.
Any chance we could see maybe I know last year you did a lot of the festivals, roadshow, this year's Winter Jam. Any chance we could see maybe late this year, maybe the Skillet headline tour with the 1819 song set list at some point?
Oh man, I don't know what's going to happen. I really would love to. You know, we've been trying to make everything work. You know, so I don't want to speak out of school. I don't know about this, but my guess is that there's a possibility that if we do record a record, that during that kind of 2 or 3 months before the record releases, I could see us doing, 15, 20 headlining dates, go out, play, 16 songs plus a couple of brand new ones and kind of test the waters, that kind of thing.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
That'd be cool. Well, John, man, I know you got a lot going on today. Thank you so much for taking time today. It's been awesome as always. Looking forward to seeing you 2 weeks from tonight. Bankers Life Fieldhouse, Indianapolis. Going to be awesome.
Yeah, great to talk to you too. Thanks, now.